Now we're going to get started with PowerPoint Unit D, and this is probably the most fun lesson of the entire semester. To me it is. And that's where we really make your PowerPoint presentations fun and easy to read, easy to watch. We're going to be using changes to the backgrounds, to the transitions of how the slides go, the timings, and we're going to animate some objects. So in PowerPoint that a lot of people are not aware of is the slide masters. There are several different types of slides, and if you look here, this is called the slide. This is called the beginning slide. There are several slides here that look the same. See, they have the borders the same here, and the background is the same. And then as you scroll down in this presentation, they've used mostly that same slide. But the very last one is different. It has a different background. So let's look at the slide masters. And when you go to view and you go to the slide master view, there is several different slides here. And as I scroll over here, you'll see here the picture with the caption layout. That's used on slide 1. This text and vertical layout is not used on any slides at all. This one is not used on any slides. This one is not used on any slides. So if we want to change every single place that the slide is used by this one slide, I want to change something on this slide master. Everywhere that this slide is used, the change would occur. So if I wanted to make a change here and I wanted to insert a picture, or I'm going to do a clip art, something of a train, because this is all about trains, and I'm just going to pick out this, I wanted to add a picture of a train, and I'm just going to add it up in the very corner. Now you see here I am adding it to the slide master. So, and I'm going to get rid of this one. So once I save this, what I can do anything to it. I can change the background style, the themes, but when I close this slide master view and close this, when I go on the presentation, everywhere that this type of slide is used, it will have this train. If I were to add a new slide with this same layout, this train would appear. So that's the way the masters are used. It's sort of hard on this presentation because they've used different setups. But the masters can be a really nice way to add the same thing to every single slide in the same format. Now, if I want to modify the background or the theme in some way, let's go over to the design tab. And on this theme, we've used this angles theme here. But if I want to change the colors, say I want a more green and blue, I don't want that orange. See how when I change that, it changes all of the slides. So now your colors are changed. I can change the font. I can change the effects, some of the different angles and stuff that you have here. You can also change the background styles. On the background styles, you see as I scroll over this, anywhere the background is can be seen, I can change that. I can put the polka dots. Notice my other slides are all changing too. So I can change the background. I can also hide the background graphics. In this theme, it does not work as well. If I had one of these other themes, you would be able to see it much better. So when you're playing around with your themes, try some of these items. It's really nice thing to do. Now, one of the things that we're looking at is, we make all of these slides, but how do I move from one slide to the next? I'm going to go to the slideshow, and I'm going to do the slideshow from the beginning. But there's another way to do this. Down in the bottom, in the viewing area here, one of your options is slideshow, so you can click there. But I'm going to start this slideshow from the beginning. Well, okay, that's great. Now how do I move to the next slide? Well, there's many ways. You can press enter. You can press your space bar. You can hit N for next, your down arrow. These are all different ways to move, or your mouse, if you just click with your left mouse. Or I can also right click and say go to, and I can go to a specific slide. So that's some of the ways that you can move around. How about moving backwards? I can move backwards by my back arrow. I can move backwards by right clicking and going to the previous slide. There's other ways here. If I press my home key, I go to the first slide. If I press the N key, I go to the last slide. So I'm going to go back to the first slide. There's other things you can do. If you're in the middle of your presentation and you want everybody's attention real well. How about W? You get a white screen. W again brings it back. B will give you a black screen, and another B will bring it back. If you have timed your slides and you find your presentation getting ahead of you, S will pause your slide, and S again will resume it. If you right click and go to your pointer options, you can select a pen and you can draw on these slides as you're doing your presentation. You can also have a highlighter. You can highlight something as you're talking about it. And then as you're going, when you get to the end of your presentation, at the end of the slideshow, you'll be asked if you want to keep your annotations. You can discard them, so none of that is saved. Now here's one where you have to be careful, the transitions. The transitions and animations, one of the biggest mistakes that people make with transitions and animations is that they make them too fast or too slow. They're boring, or else people just get so confused because the slides are moving so fast. So the transitions is how the screen changes from one slide to another. Here, if you go to the More button, there are subtle transitions, exciting, and dynamic. Be careful in using these dynamic, because like if I select this Ferris wheel, if you have people with eye problems, they may have a problem with some of these. And if I select the effect options, I can get the entry from the right or from the left. If I select this zoom, there's effect options here. I can zoom it in, or I can zoom it out or in. Either way, whatever you want. Now, I also can add sound to my transition. See, I'm going to leave it on the applause there. How long is this transition going to take? That was 9 seconds. If I want it to come in faster, I'm going to go over here to the preview on the far left. I can apply this transition to all of them, so every single slide transitions the same way. Or I can change my transitions based on the slide. I can say, do I want this to advance on every time I click the mouse? But if I want it to do it automatically, I know my timing. This is one way you can set your timing. And I'm going to say I want it to transition after about 10 seconds. That gives me time to talk about this first slide. So if I click on this slide and then I can talk about it, let's go to the slideshow view. Adventure Tours, Canadian Tours, Quest Specialty Travel, and how we are the world's traveling experience. It automatically transitioned for me. I'm going to show you a lot easier way in a couple of minutes. You can do that. You can have this one different. There's some really, really different transitions here. So play with them and see what you like. The checkerboard, that one's pretty popular. So we're going to go, what you can do, if you're ready to do it, you can go to your slideshow and you can go and practice your time. What this is you can go through and say, okay, I need this much time to to present this slide. Now I'm ready, and you see up here in the corner, it's timing it for us. I press enter. For this slide, I need to talk about the Canadian tours, and I need to talk about British Railways and all of this. And however much time you practice your timing, press enter. It's creating the timing for you. Now, if I press escape, the total time of the slide, do you want to keep these slide timings? I'm going to say yes. When this screen comes up, this will show you your timing over here. 16 seconds for slide 1, 11 seconds for slide 2. Slide 3 is only 5 seconds because I didn't proceed on through it. So I can go ahead and continue with my rehearsed timings to where I can keep going on this. But before you do that, you might want to set up your animations. The animations are how the different objects in the slide appear on the screen. So if I have this train object here, if I want to animate this title, I select this title, I go over here to the animations, and I'm going to click on the More button, and I can select any of these items. I can select it to bounce in. Then I can go to the next item and say I want this one to fly in. And I'm doing this on purpose so you can see this. You can also animate your background. See how I click this? And it's going to animate this picture of the river. And say I want this. The last one is this item down here in the bottom. And I'm going to have it, there's another one I want to use. What I want to do is I want to use, if I go down here to more entrance effects, there are a lot more items. And if you take a look here, there are different things. Grow and turn. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. Now, if I go over here to preview, it is going to preview the whole slide. And what it is the train stays still. You see there how this is coming in. Now, this may affect your timing. That's why I say be careful. On each of these items, what I would do before I ever got started is I would open this animation pane. I can choose one of these items by just selecting. I want to choose item number 1, and I want to make some changes to it. Say I want this picture of the river to come in first, or right after the title. All I do is I grab a hold of it. And I drag it up. You see there how the placement changes? Now if I click preview, I put it in after the first title. I want it to go up top, the very first position. Play it again, my picture comes in first. Now my titles come in. Change this. If you want this timing to start immediately, you start each one on this picture. It goes with the previous. If I want this adventure, you don't want to have to click until it comes up. You want it to start right away. Each time, see how it comes in with the photo above it. You can choose each of these. You can also change effects, and I'll show you that. Okay, there's different things that you can play with and find how you're going to do this. Now, if we move down to slide 2, this is a good example of another thing you can do. I'm going to select this text box where I have different items, and I want these to fly in. See, they fly in from the bottom, but I can have them fly in from the bottom left. I can have them fly in from the top right. I can have them fly in from any direction I want to. I also can have them fly in all at once. See, all at once, or I can have them fly in by paragraph. They call it paragraph. But now see this once again. This comes in as item 1, 2, and 3 within this one item. So I can I can select them to be slower. See how they're coming in slower? I can select them to come in a lot faster. See how that is? You have to be careful if they fly in too fast, because as you're talking about them, you probably only want them to appear as quickly as you can talk about them. So if I want to say the Canadian Rockies tours, we have a British Columbia Railways. See there, that is much, much too fast for what I could do. So I would have to change them. The British Columbia Railways Incorporated were based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and were the oldest and largest privately owned railway in Canada since 1957. So this is how you practice. Once again, if you click on the more, there is more emphasis techniques here. You can click on more emphasis. Another one that some students really like, there is one credits. If you want this to roll as credits, what some students do on their last screen is they have their names show as credits. And they click OK here, and they want this to show as credits. Well, what I would have to do is I would have to set it up, and I'm going to leave that for you to do. They set up a text box, and what they do is they move this text box way off of the screen. And let's see if it's going to work now. Credits, and see how it rolls onto the screen? This rolls on, and it continues to roll off. So that's how the credits roll. So, and you would have to do this either all at once, or you can just do it what some do is put spaces between their names, so it just rolls across there as credits, so they can say who created the slideshow. What I want to show you is there is another type of custom animation, and I'm going to select this title, and I'm going to go down here, motion paths. The motion paths are a way that you can control how things move around the screen without it being one of those standard ones. These are just something different. Say you want it to bounce in from the right. You see this in the background? Okay, let's watch this. See, if I want it to bounce, and I'm previewing these, and see how it bounces down. Say I want it to come in as a funnel. That could drive people crazy. I want it to come in as an S curve. That's fairly slow, so that's not too bad. There's another S curve, a different S curve that you can do. Well, I really don't want to do one of these. I want to do something different, but you have to select one of these. Then, if you go over here to Custom Path, you can change the way it comes in. See how I am drawing this custom path? And say I want it to go all over the screen and back up here. I double click when I'm done with my path. See how it moves around the screen? I could slow this down or speed this up to where it's not so fast. You would have to have a really good reason to use this busy of a path. If you had animals dancing around the screen or something, this would be very cool to use. But otherwise, I think I would be real careful with it. So now that we've done some animation, there's a few things that you need to do before you finish your slideshow completely. Remember, you need to go over here to the slideshow. Before you finish your presentation, you need to do a couple of things. I know we talked about it one time. You need to go File, you need to go to your Options, go to your Save, embed your fonts. But I would embed only the characters used in the presentation. That way your file isn't so large. And click OK. So you need to do that. You need to spell check your document. Be careful, make sure you spell check it. Rehearse your timings one last time and make a backup of your presentation. Keep in mind, can this be seen at the back of the room? What are the colors like? Are they offensive? Are they, you know, is it something that people can see very easily? You also might want to go back over to the file command and in the information show your properties, make sure your name is on this file. Okay, add yourself as an author if you're not there as an author to make sure that everything is there. Make a copy of it. Put it on a flash. You're going to need to put it on a flash drive to take it somewhere, but make sure that you make a copy of it. Also, keep your messages on your slides short. You notice these slides on here, there is not a lot of wording on here. One of the biggest problems that students have, and even on this slide, there's a lot of wording. So it's hard to see some of this, even if you were to stretch it out to where it's larger, it's a little bit better. Make sure your font is easy to read. This font is not bad at all. But what happens if I change this to Algerian? Oop, I did not have the whole thing selected. My fault. I changed this to Algerian. Can you see this in the back of the room? Can you read it? Make sure that your important text is emphasized. You use bold, you use font, italics, anything like that. And that your transitions are easy on the eyes. Keep in mind that not everybody has as good of eyesight as you may have. So to make your presentation the best you can, make sure that you make it easy on the eyes. So with that, I encourage you to go ahead and keep working on your classwork, and I will see you on Wednesday.